all that stuff we're going to do. Well, I wanted to look up what touch 2 through 10 actually did, though. Let's see if anyone else had. This is not quite it. Yeah, it's UMG stuff. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything right away, so we're just gonna move on. If someone knows, let's throw it in the chat at some point. We're gonna do this one as a touch look. Okay. Player character. Touch look. We still want to double check and make sure we can actually do all these things. You know. In here we have these things saved, so we can add this back now. Only if we're in combat for these two. This stuff here. So touch and tap. Tap we're not going to worry about quite yet. Let's see. Touch look. That's what we're focused on. If we can touch look. What is a point where we can't touch look? We can't touch look if we're in combat, so we're going to do this. We're saying not in combat. And I think we'll leave the rest of it blank for now. I'm just going to stack this. Of course, I don't do this all the time, but it's kind of nice right now when you only have like 1 or 2 little nodes there. Okay. The other thing we're going to do is start to collapse these down into date, moved, touch. Collapse this into touch. This will be location. This will be location. We could also have a Boolean, which asks if we have our touch pressed down or not. Do we need that or not, though? Good question. We'll leave it out for the moment. But eventually we might need a state in there saying, hey, you're touching the screen or you're not touching the screen. Because that might be useful. I wonder if there's a built-in Boolean for that already or not. That is a good question. Touch moved. This isn't technically just a direction. This is also just the basically our velocity across the screen. You know, we can use it to get the direction. We can use it to get the distance traveled and whatnot and all that. But we're doing those two, and that's fine. Let's bring this in. Okay, so touch look. And touch look. So we're in touch look. We do this and this. We're just going to test it by saying hello. Twice is fine. Just to make sure that both of these are actually working. Actually, I want to do it like this. I mean, I always like to check and see, are we in the state before we leave the state? It's kind of nice to do. It's kind of a personal preference, though. You don't always necessarily need to do that. Depends on how you're setting everything up. Yeah. So click, release, click, release. That looks good. And so you can do some other state changes in here if we need to eventually. Right now, I don't know of any state changes we need to do for the touch look. Like if there's anything we have to do to the character when we begin looking or when we stop looking. And then when we're updating, we can do things like update our touch look in here. We're going to do this in another little group. Could make it a function, but I don't think we really need to do much reuse of it, so I don't think we need to. Okay, update touch look basically just says, hey, if we're pressing the button, then, you know, let's go ahead and deal with it. We're going to throw this into camera. These two I don't think we're using anymore, right? Yeah. We can repurpose them. Touch, look, rate, and touch, look, rate. Of course, I don't know if 45 is going to be the right one to use, but that's fine. And we're going to throw these ones into touch input. Let's do input. And we're going to do a subcategory of touch. Okay, we got our velocity. Let's do length and normalize it. I don't know if we're going to use both of these, but you know, essentially what we want to do is we have our basically a direction, although I need to double check the math on that, as well as like moving left and right and up and down. Like it might have to flip those axes. But we're going to controller add pitch and controller add yaw. We can do a sequence, or we can do it one after the other. I don't know if it really matters too much. Let's do a sequence. So we can also do this, which is like meaning that it'll always exit, even if we have like some other thing going on in here that gets, you know, stopped for whatever reason. Okay. Oh well, it'll get stopped here. So let's pop that there. Okay. Okay, if we're in a touch look state, then we need to move the camera X amount, you know, blah, blah, blah. So we have a value of length. We can multiply it by this. And by the X or Y, kind of normalized stuff. See, I don't know if that's going to be needed at all. We just have a normalized. How do we want to deal with it? So, in terms of moving, like the faster you move, the larger of a jump, the more you're going to move the camera. I don't think length matters here. It does matter in terms of like individual XY axes, because we have to have like a cap in terms of how far your finger goes within a frame, how much we're actually going to take into account, like a clamped version of it. Let's split, and let's just do a quick test where we're just going to throw this on here. X is for yaw, Y is for this, and let's have some fun. Let's see this go crazy. Yeah, it's going to be way too fast, but, it's fine. All right, so up and down, it's definitely way too fast, but right and left are correct. I'm not sure if up and down are correct. I can't tell if that feels right. Yeah, you can spin so fast that it just freaks out. Doesn't know what to do. Maybe this is actually backwards. I cannot tell. It's one of those things where it's just moving too quick. I cannot feel how correct it is or not. Okay, so a couple things we can do. One is multiply it by delta time. Yeah, multiply by float. Of course, this isn't quite right, but we're just going to do it for just a moment. This one is for Y. This one's for X. Okay. Yeah, it feels better. It's good. Okay. Would love to clamp this before I do anything else, though. Let me do a print string. Let's just see how fast this is essentially going. The fastest I'm getting is like 100. Just from a kind of standard quick movement. Well, let's cap it at like, I don't know. Let's cap it at 50. Try that. I have no idea. I don't do mobile development. Come on. I don't know what I'm doing. It's going to be fun to figure it out, though. Reinvent the wheel. Instead of looking things up like I should. But that's no fun. It's more fun to screw around. Okay. So we're going to do a min-max. Remote to variable is going to be our touch distance max. Touch distance max. And it's going to be a what do we say, 50? Well, let's do 60. Give it slightly more than 50. We're also going to multiply by -1 to give us the other side of it, so -60. So this will be minimum and maximum and maximum. Okay. Okay, perfect. Starting to get a little big though. A better spot for this. Let's just bring this in. I like all my stuff to be at least kind of organized. Kinda. Doesn't have to be perfect, but especially since we will eventually be switching over to C++ with a lot of the stuff. But there you go. Here's our touch stuff. So comment it. We're also going to need to multiply it against our rate, but we'll get there in a second. Let's just get it into the right spot. So we're clamping touch distance. There's a maximum distance you can move your finger across the screen at any given time to make sure that we don't go crazy with it. And then once we're here, now we're also going to multiply it by our rate. So delta time, the clamped version, and then look right and look up rate. Which right now are 45. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, this one is look up. Need a better spot to be putting these things, and this one's look right. It's already getting kind of messy. Yeah, something like that'll work. That's fine. All right, update touch look. Still too fast though. It's probably because it's 50 times 45, something like that. Which, for the controller being a 0 to 1 input, we could do that. So we could clamp it to that thing and then divide it by the touch distance max, which will give us a 0 to 1. Or a negative 1 to positive 1. Again, we gotta kind of spread this out a little bit more, give us some breathing room. I hate these crisscrossing lines. I am a big fan of Blueprint a lot of the time. There are some things that I think that can change and make things a little bit easier. Not that I'm going to be working on any of that right now, but eventually maybe I'll try and submit some code to Epic and say, hey, here's some nice things that would be nice to have in Blueprint. It's something I like that they do, though. I ended up working on a spline camera thing a long time ago. Because when it came from Unreal Engine 3, they had a bunch of functions for you to use in Unreal Script that were missing when I got here into Unreal Engine 4 with Blueprint. And that's just to get the closest point on a spline. You can get a world position. So I had to rebuild it in Blueprint because I was showing people how to do some Blueprint stuff with it, which of course is way slower and way worse than C++. But someone commented on it and said, hey, I actually know they have this in C++. I'll just expose it, and submit it to Epic. He did that, and that's why we all have the ability to do more stuff with splines, which is kind of cool. That this guy just, I can't remember his name now, unfortunately. Whoever you were, you're awesome. Props to you for doing that real quick, because that helps a lot. Well, now you can access closest distance on splines and things like that. Just because this nice guy decided he wanted to submit it to Epic. Got put into one of the patches a long time ago, probably a couple years, maybe even more like 3 years now. Jeez, a long time. 3 or 2 years. Doesn't matter. Something I do like Epic does, though. Embracing the community and getting stuff like that. Of course, it's free work. Why wouldn't you put it in? But yeah. All right. So let's try that. Okay. 0 to 1, 45. It's a little slow. So essentially what that means is if I'm going 100% movement, so that's the 60, I want to say it's probably just 60 pixels. And that's going to be a problem in terms of using pixels. I have to see how that system functions, because you might have to take the screen width and screen height and apply a fix to that later, depending on the mobile device you're on and whatnot. Again, we'll get there. But it's applying 45 rotation per second, and it's too slow, so we're going to do 360 and 270, because I like to be able to turn left and right faster than I turn up and down. Something like that. I think up and down is backwards. It doesn't feel right doing it this way. But this is fine, because this is like dragging it across. This is like backwards. Right? Yeah. So let's invert that. Look up rate. I'm just going to throw a negative in here. Negative 270. There we go. So now I drag it. That feels nice. Okay, that's good. Alright, our look at stuff. All done. Now we can control when we look at things and when we're not, all that stuff. Awesome. Getting into combat. I think we're just going to do a sphere check. So enemies or player, or I wonder what's going to be better, to have the player have it on them or the enemy have it on them. Essentially, when we do like a sphere overlap with an enemy, we enter into a new state, being like you're now in combat kind of thing. You can always leave combat, just kind of by backing out, but whenever you're near an enemy, you have to fight them. You don't get a choice in it. We also can do the touch to move stuff, though. Okay, let's do that real quick, because that's also pretty easy and kind of nice to have. So we have a volume. We need a navigation mesh bounds. We also need to add invokers, because I set it up to have this project be an invoker kind of project, which means that navigation won't actually populate. So I hit the P key, which will show you the mesh. Nothing's going to actually populate until we add onto our characters the nav mesh stuff. And I think every single character is going to need it. So nav mesh modifier. Invoker, navigation invoker, compile, save, and yeah, you can see it pop in because we have our enemy there. But this is the parent class, so it'll be on all of our characters, including the player, and we can actually drop this down quite a bit. Now let's do 3,000, and I don't know, 2,000, something like that. We'll figure that out. I don't know how our levels are going to quite work yet. So that's more important when we get there. All right, tap to move. Tap to move happens even when we're in combat. We can say tap to move. You can't do it while you're moving the thing here, just in case like movement is happening from there, I guess. Which will be move forward and move right. Trying to think if there's any other reason why we wouldn't be able to use a tap to move functionality. I guess you could technically do it where it's an option to turn on and off. Wait, its length is going to be 0 to 2, so we don't need to worry about. Well, actually, yeah, we do, because it'll be negatives too. So we do need to do a length, unfortunately. Although we could do length squared to get a slightly faster function, because we actually don't care what the value is. It just can't be greater than like 0. So let's just say equal or nearly equal to 0 by like, I don't know, 5.1 or 0.01, something like that. Let's just put this into a collapse group called again tap to move. And, you know, we can put in other stuff here eventually, but right now this is fine. Could be things like, are we attacking, or stuff like that. But We should still be able to use tap to move if we are in combat, so that doesn't matter. Okay. Move to simple move to location. We're not going to do much else. I don't think that there's any reason to. So when we're pressed, what we're going to do is say, hey, we're whatever our current touch location is where we're going to move to. We also can spawn a particle there and stuff like that. I wonder if we have any good particles for this right now. Just kind of built in. Whoops. Particle system. No. Skeletal meshes. What particles do we have? See some of that. It's an impact. It's got to build everything. Oh man, there's a bunch for Paragon. A lot of the stuff we're not gonna be able to really use or care to use. That's a carried one, so that's not going to work. That's the thing that I think sits around the character. Yeah, this is like a beam. We're not going to be able to do that. Something like this might work, though. Ground off. Black, red. All the carried ones again. Received. We're just looking for very basic, something where we tap on the ground. Kind of shows the player where they're going to be going to. Death impacts, debris. Ooh, spawning stuff. It was sad to see Paragon end, because I don't think it was quite there, but it definitely wasn't bad or anything. It was interesting. I think that they needed to do some tweaks to a lot of the stuff, but ultimately, definitely was hopeful it would keep going. And jump into it every once in a while and check it out and play. Although it was not very good. Let's take a look at this. Something like this might work, although it's a little small. It might be kind of hard to see. This one's still building. Come on, guys. Come on, computer. Level up stuff. Minion spawn. It'll be interesting. Of course, me adding more of these all at once isn't helping. See, that might be way too much. I was hopeful I could just find something real quick. Alright, it's screwed for now. What we're going to do is just see. See, I'm actually thinking that this isn't quite right. Okay. Oh, we'll figure that out. Okay. Let's check out the tap to move stuff. Okay, tap to move. Can we tap to move? We do this, we go. We can't do it if we're currently moving.